Right. Happy Friday. Made it. Let's go. Let's paint. Let's paint. Let's paint. Let's paint. Let's paint. Let's paint. Can tell when I've been painting a lot because my the paint in the poppet hasn't totally dried. It's like, oh, good for me. A lot of painting this week. Primarily terrain painting, but it counts. All right, so my approach to these tiles has been, or the tops of these tiles, gross. Paint gets so gross sometimes. So my approach has been to hit the surfaces with a sort of a neutral gray, which I did, and then do a very light dark wash over them, just to sort of get some of the detail back. Because every time you do a paint application over something that has a lot of like bumps and cracks and stuff, it's gonna kind of, the paint's gonna naturally fill it in. So the wash will kind of bring some of that back. Hey, what's up, Connor? And so I haven't done a wash on some of these. You can still, there's some variation of the gray, but so I'm gonna finish doing that because I want those to be drying, and then you can kind of see the difference. Certainly the color isn't as like cool blue gray. So once I get everything to this point, I'm going to, nope, Connor chat seems to be back to normal, which is nice. Once I get it to this stage, I'm gonna start, I think, doing some variations on, like I'm gonna choose different tiles and do some different shades of gray. If not shades, maybe I'll introduce some like browns and stuff. I'm not entirely sure. But there are also places where like the ground has kind of given way, and so those I'm going to be repainting just these little spots to be more earth, kind of mud-like. And once we get through all of that, it'll be basically done. Probably a couple more wash applications. We'll see. We'll just take it a step at a time. Yeah, so all of these that kind of feel kind of homogeneous gray, those ones that I still need to hit with a wash. Loses a lot of detail. I think this one's good. Yep. Okay, so just 3 left. Not too bad. So we'll start with that. Do I find that I get more out of my tiles that have grids or open spaces? I don't know that I notice a difference apart from aesthetic, right? And I don't mind having, you know, a specific grid necessarily. Hey, Data, thanks for the $2. Coffee's on you today. No, I don't really notice a difference, but I've never found it very difficult to adjudicate movement. And I don't know if that's because I'm running the game wrong. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm too permissive with movement. I mean, I think my favorite way to do grids, if I can figure out a way to do it, is to let the design speak to sort of an implied grid. That'd be like, I think the coolest way to do it. But at the end of the day, most of the time, it's not too hard to figure out. You can always pull out the tape measures. Sometimes use a piece of string. You know, 6 inches of string will cover you. What's up, Snabbaman? Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. I can never tell over here what people are. It's not like I stick to any consistent time zone, so I don't know what to expect from people. Hey, thanks. Well, it'll look even better when... So the next wash will take it from that sort of flat look on the right to something more like this. And then we can really start painting it. And to do this, I'm not using like a heavy like application, mostly just sort of like dabbing on a light dark wash. Does that make sense? A light application of a dark wash to get that. Bring back the recesses and the look of the individual bricks. The dry brushing can help with this too. Obviously, just two different directions. You're almost finished with your wizard. Nice. I was just thinking earlier about how I was looking at my sort of prop books that I've made on my shelf. And I'm like, I want to make another one. Had a cool idea for one. Because my players they kind of just finished an arc. Well, kind of. They also sort of abandoned it, but they just finished this arc on this coastal city with a lighthouse, dealing with a bunch of people transforming into sea people, you know, standard D&D stuff. And the idea of this old lighthouse keeper's journal that speaks both to like the curse that's afflicting the place, but also like as a guide to sort of the mysteries of the water nearby and maybe how to manage the curse and maybe sort of documenting, you know, and sort of assisting with a dungeon in that area. I'm like, okay, an old sort of Sea Dog's journal. I'm gonna have to make that. What's up, Funky Monk? What did you just find? Is this RPG terrain painting? This channel is a bunch of different stuff, but yeah, right now I'm so these are sort of risers, tiles. I'm making them, kind of pulling them double duty because the ultimate goal, or the original goal, is the one side here is magnetized because I'm going to stack them next to me. I've got 9 of these to stack up. And anybody who supports the channel, I put their name on a brick. And these are magnetized to hold them, so I can put all the supporters there and put them here on the table next to me in frame. And but I'm also making the surfaces. I want to be able to, if I'm making this much stuff, I want to be able to use it as terrain also. And we're just talking D&D. Actual prop that functions, puzzle cipher. Yeah, I'm so glad I found. Awesome. I'm so glad you did too. And here's the real question, Snapperman, are you enjoying the process of making it? Because I think that's a type of fun in all of this, especially as like a kind of a game designer, dungeon master. Like that one's a hard one. Not everybody gets to experience, I think, that thrill of like actually making the damn thing, right? Funky, I made this. This is I made all of this out of XPS foam. Same sort of insulation foam you have in your walls, most probably. I stopped keeping track. I used to have a counter in the corner of like how many hours I've spent on a craft, but it just starts to get depressing, so I don't put it there anymore. But yeah, this is the really fun and rewarding part. Not that the whole process isn't, but it starts to become less of a slog as you get all the detailed painting work and stuff finished. The sides, I think, are done. I'm happy with the sides, and it's hard to tell on camera. Let me switch you over. Maybe from the side you can kind of tell there are sort of like hints of color. You know, like stone sometimes has like, you know, reds and yellows and blues and greens. So I'm happy with that. Yep. I paint terrain with just cheap dollar store paints, washes and stuff like that. Sometimes I'll make my own. For these, the surfaces here, I'm using some actual like miniature shades, just because I've spent a lot of time on this stuff and I want it to look nice and detailed, especially for stuff like this, especially where yeah, it's pretty gray, especially for something like this, which I'm probably gonna have in like videos and close-up photos and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, I don't mind using some nicer washes on it. You get to flex your drawing skills, not use the journal's a bunch of recipes, spells, details. That's awesome. One of my one reliable thing that my party loves to do, the only spell actually that was sort of still in the book, because when they found out there were a bunch of pages missing, and so the spell that was in there is this low-level spell called Locate Pages, and what it does is if there is a missing page from the wizard's journal within a certain distance, it'll basically indicate where it is in the distance and basically, you know, point you in that direction. And so every new location that they go to, that's like a staple. They've got a, you know, and it gives like a kind of a baked-in quest no matter where they go, because this wizard who traveled all over the place left his, you know, it's almost like he gave himself like stashes, supplies all over the world, and some of those were spell scrolls. Yeah, definitely. Oh, like the missing pages in the world. I guess so. Yeah, I guess that was kind of in Tunic, wasn't it? The main difference being that my idea was actually tied into the story in a way that made sense. Did we talk about that, Construct? How I think I might have, maybe I just wrote that on the Discord. How Tunic is sort of, it's an amazing game in that I'm kind of amazed that the designers involved put so much work into developing such amazing ways of hiding secrets, and then they did like almost nothing with what they made. It's kind of a flex, honestly. Because the Rod of Seven Parts, I'm not familiar with that campaign, but it sounds like it. Good ideas all around. Because it's not really the case that you know, oftentimes now, speaking of Tunic, like the joke with sort of bad puzzles or bad secrets is the old well, maybe I'm super out of touch because I'm just an old man at this point, but the Christmas Stories joke where the kid gets the mail-in stuff, and he's like decoder ring whatever, and it's just a commercial. It tells him to drink more Ovaltine. Like, that's always the joke, right? Is you don't want to make a puzzle that tells your party to drink more Ovaltine. That's not what Tunic does. What Tunic does is like it's like all of the puzzles that you uncover, it just sort of reveals cutesy little details about the world. Like, it is actually more genuine. Like, it's kind of how sometimes I talk about, like, people don't actually want a sandbox world experience. They don't want a truly open world, because if they did, they would travel into the desert and spend 3 months and find nothing of value, nothing of substance, right? So yeah, it actually hid the culture of the game and the dialogue and just the bits of detail, but the detail didn't amount to anything. It feels like if you were to make a campaign world where it's like, yep, and then you travel, you rest, you travel, you rest. Oh, you run into a minor thing, you travel, you rest, and you'd be like, wait, what? Where's the? Shouldn't interesting things happen? Yeah, they probably should. That's what everybody's expecting. Which isn't, that's not the way actual stuff is. 3rd or 2nd edition have been released. Okay, cool. Wow, yeah, I should check it out. 2000 visited mentor. I think that puzzles can hide all sorts of things. But I think that the more time you ask somebody to invest in uncovering or solving a puzzle, the more interesting that I want that reveal to be, the more satisfying that I think it needs to be. I think it's part of the reason that, like, rarely have escape rooms like interested me, because it's like most of the time you're spending a bunch of time solving something that actually doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It actually doesn't reveal anything except for like a sequence of numbers, and you artificially use that to like open a lock or whatever and move on. And I think that makes a lot more sense in the context of D&D, where it's like, well, look, if somebody's hiding the password to get into this particular room, yeah, they should be able to solve that within a part of a session and move on. And I don't think that anything suffers for that. That makes sense. But if there is a multi-session, if there's like, your pieces of a tome, or you're deciphering this larger puzzle that requires you to travel through the entire known world, at the end of that, I'm going to expect that there should be some pretty cool information coming out of that. It shouldn't be like, oh, you found the esoteric instructions for, somebody was trying to sort of protect their proprietary method for like cremating, members of this whatever city. It's like, why did we, okay, interesting, I guess, but why did we spend time uncovering that? Yeah, I think that's even a thing in Tunic, right? I don't know if you're making a joke on purpose, Construct, but after I finished the game, if you were like, okay, can we share secrets about the game with you now? I'm like, sure, guys, what did I miss? And they're like, well, behind that bush, there's a set of stairs and it goes down into a room that you've never seen before. I'm like, oh, killer, what's down here? And this is where you can change the outfit color of the fox character. And I'm like, I super don't care. Like, why is this hidden? This should have been like, there should have just been a door somewhere that let you do this, because some people are going to care. But like the idea that you could play through that whole game and actually care about something like that, but not have access to it because you didn't find the secret. And it's like, wow, that's sort of a wasted thing for people that would have wanted to tweak that. Ah, the old quantum solution. Schrodinger's solution. Hey, Noel. Good luck to your students. I think that's a lovely idea, Noel. Modular traps are it's fun to like see what you can come up with, you know? Oh, yeah, construct. I know what you mean. You know, that was also speaking of like useless unlocks, that was one of the just like I feel like almost like immoral design decisions from the Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Was so many of the puzzles in that game, so many of the things you'd explore would give you outfits that they already gave you in the previous game. I was like, this should not, like, how could they have thought this was a good idea? Like, it's literally, it's what you would expect playing like a ROM hack, like remix of a Zelda game, where it's like, well, we just had to use the assets that we had. I mean, what did you expect? It's like, could they really not come up with anything better than that? Ugh, drives me nuts. Do I prefer a glossier matte final finish on terrain? Matte, unless there's some reason for it to be glossy. Sometimes I'll seal it. Oftentimes I don't, just because, like, you know, yeah, I think it's fine. I often make repairs. Things get dinged up. It's okay. It's part of the life. It just, I mean, look, when I spend all this time distressing the terrain, and then like the kids or the dog or the cat like knocks it and it gets a big chunk taken out, it's like, that's free distressing, you know? I just lean into it. So I don't worry too much about making it like precious and protected. Well, I think, unironically, Construct, I think that's thinking the right direction. Rather than trying to like make the look of the gas, think about what the gas comes out of, and then, like, you know, that's the trap. It's like whatever's dispensing the gas rather than the look of gas itself. True. Gas your players, yes. Oh, no, no. Poor student. Good luck, Noel. I could probably share it with you. Let me see. Hey, what's up, runner? All right, Stampa Man. I put it in the stream chat in Discord. Hey, no problem. Hey, what's up, Bias? Good to see you again. Thank you. Do I run on pen and paper, or do I use Obsidian to prep campaigns? So I use a writing app called Ulysses, which is not strictly speaking like, it's nothing special. It's mostly just lets me edit it in Markdown. And I'll usually start with ideas typed up, and then when it comes time to run the session, I print those pages, usually no more than 3 or 4 max, and then I'll write notes on top of those pages during the session, and then that's sort of my paper notes. So I have digital that I can always search through, but I keep all those sheets in like in big hole 3. I have a whole shelf that's just 3-hole punch binders full of session notes, because that's ultimately kind of the campaign Bible. That's like the stuff that's actually happened at the table. Everything that I write up, it's one thing that I tried to do at a couple different times. I've tried to like sit down and say, okay, let me type up like what happened. And luckily, for the most part, across my sessions, I have a pretty good memory of like the important stuff that happened and can sort of piece stuff together as needed. But I've never been able to. I just have to trust sort of like oral history style, like what I have in my notes as I look back, because the idea of sitting down and like writing out everything that happened, I just can't bring myself to do it. Maybe if I found a way to like make that like a stream thing, right? Like a campaign diary sort of process, maybe. But I just don't think, I never find those very compelling, so have not tried it yet. But I'm somebody who, if I'm doing almost anything, I'm probably writing things down. I'm taking notes, I'm doodling, I'm doing something to like, not even if it's of consequence. It helps me to listen and be engaged, to be taking notes to the extent that I can when I'm running the session, which isn't always easy, but. Right. That can be tough. It can be tough. Yeah, yeah. Experimenting with some different ways of getting some dirt color. I think that's a good idea too. In this case, I'll lean away from that only because these are meant to be stacked on each other. But I could maybe do some flat texture grass, like some Hey, Data, thanks for the $2. How's February's outlook? I think it's been a good month. I mean, I don't see this project going in. This craft won't go into March, so that makes February a great outlook for me. Yeah, let's take a look for you. Let's see. In terms of YouTube traffic, let's throw out some numbers here. Let's see what the important numbers are. So January we saw grew by 1,800 subscribers, so that's neat. 11,000 watch hours, 1.2 million views. So that was definitely very good. And then so far this month, we're looking at 1,600 subscribers, 12.6 thousand watch hours, 1.6 million total views. So yeah, moving in the right direction. Definitely keeping things active. I think that I can have a big impact on a lot of those counts if I sprinkle in some short content, some short videos here and there. So we'll see what I'm able to get out in March. But yeah, all good. Thanks for asking. Hey, cool kid. Good to see you again. Samba Man, is this my main gig or do I have a regular? I have a job. This is job number 2. Maybe one day it'll be job 1 and only. But right now it's job number 2. Which VTT? The only thing that I've really used at all is the D&D Beyond map system. I haven't really dug into virtual tabletop stuff outside of that. I've used Roll20 as a player, and it seemed fine, but oh, I'm just pulling in different kind of variations of color, and then I'll do some more texturing, and I wanted to just kind of play around with the colors of the tiles a little bit. I've been playing D&D for 7 years. Compression socks data. Compression socks help. Ooh, yeah, you gotta be careful with that. It's always a bit freaky. That's exciting data. That's awesome. It takes as long as you want it to take, honestly. Halfling Barbarian, that's fun. Cool kid? No, I don't think so. What's up, Adams? You're getting started with D&D terrain and miniatures. What are the best sort of settings and stuff to start with? What do you mean by best sort of settings? Like, I always advise people to start with like the scene of a boss fight, like whatever, something they're gonna expecting to run, you know, sometime in the future. You know, build that scene, right? Build maybe like 2 or 3 little modular pieces, and then paint a boss monster, and then like that's kind of your introduction to, because lots of different things can happen in a game, but usually somewhere along the line, like a boss fight. If you play in a boss fight, it's probably going to happen, right? So that gives you a nice target to aim for, and it doesn't make you think that you got to build like everything. See ya, cool kid. Of course. Hey, Dungeons Hammers. I should try Warhammer. Oh man. Feel like the time it would take to dig into that one. I already spent so much time with D&D. Hey, what's up, creations? In my opinion, is it better to have the same UI for the desktop as the mobile, or should the mobile be custom made for mobile? So generally speaking, I would build. I would say the UI for mobile is the most important thing, unless it's such a specific thing that it might be used exclusively on desktop. Like, depending on your demographics, it's probably going to be used 75% of the time by people on their phones anyway. So I would focus entirely on that. And then the question is, as that kind of gets bigger, as that upscales, what adjustments do you need to make from that? I'm not opposed to, in some cases, having like 2 totally different like UI sets, but a lot of times if it works on mobile, it will scale up pretty easily. So wedding cost estimator, yeah, in that case, mobile is probably where all that's going to happen. So I would start with the mobile, and then like I'm not even sure I would bother. I mean, you know, I really prefer that sort of like fluid back and forth kind of design and development approach to making websites. So, you know, so much focus should be on that mobile experience that you might be able to just like make it that way and then sort of scale it up and see what breaks and then address those design issues. But oh, they wanted to drag and drop. I mean, yeah. Unless you have like an app experience, web touch enabled stuff is always going to be so flaky, especially on mobile where people expect those things to be really snappy. Okay, well, you got the desktop. That's cool. I mean, and that's fine. I think that sometimes that's where benchmarking can be really helpful, right? Like they want to be able to like drag stuff around. It's like, let's go look at pricing calculator stuff and see what, you know, is that common? What's a good example, you know, but. No, you're fine. I totally understand. Right. Yeah, probably not. Even though it's like, I'm guessing that if it's wedding cost related, if it's wedding related at all, I bet most of their traffic is going to be coming from like link in bio on Instagram, right? Like it's going to be coming from social media. So it's like that's the I think it's still the case. It's certainly the case for me, and I think, you know, maybe older generations, that if it's going to be an expensive purchase, like probably wedding calculation stuff would be like, I liked to be on a real computer for it. But even that like I say, that feels like an old fashioned way of thinking. I think plenty of people don't differentiate that at all. You know, everything can be done on a phone, and if it can't, they won't do it. Yeah, pretty wild, right? Yeah, yeah, I think that's pretty standard. Now that doesn't tell you that that's going to be your split in terms of conversion, right? Like you could still have a heavier split. That 40 could still be your main driver, but yeah. Probably worth taking a look at. Yeah, to switch from drag and drop to like arrows or something, like move back and forth. That would probably make sense. What's up, Jordan? I'm doing great. Not plugged in order to recently, do you watch any D&D content? If so, what? Oh, no, I really don't. I really just kind of do my own thing. I mean, there are definitely, I kind of make efforts where I can to, chat with other people who make stuff, I guess. Like, can be fun to talk shop and things like that. But I mean, part of the issue with it is like when it comes to sort of D&D content, there's actually not that much that I find personally very engaging. So I used to watch a lot more kind of, certainly Matt Colville videos, and I would watch actual plays to get a sense of how the game worked. Like, that's how I learned. That was my sort of, lesson plan that was my syllabus, I guess, for figuring out how to approach the game. Now I feel like I have sort of a style that I can work with, and I don't even, I mean, I've thought about it, even though I'm not sure it would fit on these streams, but sometimes when I'm crafting and stuff, I'm like, maybe I should just like throw up somebody's video on stream, watch something, because it's interesting enough. But between the games that I run, the stuff, the products that I'm trying to make, and the community building and the work on the channel and the stream and job number one, this job, family time, odds are if I'm not kind of working on my own stuff, I just don't really set aside time to dig into things like that. It's not because I don't think it's worthwhile or whatever, but see ya, biased. Okay, well, sure. All right, good luck. Good luck. Okay, let's let that dry. I think this will be interesting with some washes over it. Obviously, it's like very bright right now, but once everything dries, I'm going to hit it with washes, and I think that'll change it a bunch. I think this is one that... Did I do it as a pathway, I think? Maybe I just did it as a spiral. Yeah, I think I just did it as a sort of spiral. Let's do this one. Why did I start live streaming? I mean, I think for me it was because I thought it would be neat. You know, when I was getting into kind of figuring out how to be a dungeon master, how I wanted to go about all this hobby, do all this stuff. But I thought it'd be neat if, you know, there's more access, I guess, that I could get to talk through some of this stuff. I think seeing how other DMs do it was what I was really trying to figure out. It's like, okay, yeah, but like I realize I can get a book and I realize I can do this. That's why the Matt Colville's videos were so useful. Because he would dig into that kind of stuff. And so I think I was like, well, I mean, I spend a lot of time thinking about and working on this kind of stuff. I'll just kind of start up my own office hours. This is the kind of thing that I was always curious. You know, it's like if I could pop in and ask a question. And it's also, it's something that I don't think I don't really see a whole lot of DMs doing it very much. So it felt like something kind of unique. And, you know, obviously I have aspirations to sort of make products and sell them. So building community and people that might care what I have to say. It's a good thing to do. Plus, it's fun. I like working with people. I like being collaborative. It's fun to, you know, find ways to sort of brainstorm stuff for the game with our sort of virtual community. Oh, thanks. Yeah. Funny how that works, huh? You introduced... Hold on, let me get this going again. You introduced a sort of fiendish necrotic collar that was controlling a monster some sessions ago. You're thinking a night hag is trying to control monsters through a town to create more nightmares. She feeds on the nightmares to grow stronger or sustain herself. Yeah, I like that idea. Sounds awesome to me. You know, a clever hag would probably also try to get somebody else to take the fall. Like, I know if I were a witch and I had to implement necrotic collars, I might make it seem like somebody else was responsible for those, just in case. Yeah, like I would copy like the maker's mark of like a blacksmith in town. Like somebody who's already kind of an outsider, and I would make them the fall guy, make them the sucker. That way they're sort of a false... It's sort of like making a story with a false bottom. Where the party's like, okay, we found it out. We figured them out. Let's get them, you know, this is the culprit. Let's end them. And it's like, actually, there's somebody behind. It turns out there's more to it. So if you're going to do something like that, it would have to be something where, you know, some part of the scapegoat story would be ironclad to the party. Like, there would have to be something that didn't align. They're starting to come out with werewolf was one of these collars. They can either kill it or loosen the collar, and the werewolf turns back into a man. No players there are going to kill it. Yep. Yeah, I had something like that. The party just fought a bunch of hellhounds that a cult affixed with these bone masks that control people. They're headed to this sort of like cult temple of cultists, and you know, they'll realize that these masks, when put on people, control them. They'll be like, oh shoot, those fiery dogs, those are being controlled too. I wonder what would have happened if we'd blah blah blah. Who knows if they'll think that or not, but those are always really tricky types of ideas where you want to signpost them a little bit. Like I talked about how, like, you know, they could kind of see the hounds' faces under the cracked skulls. They could see that when they died, the glowing eyes of the skull would go out, trying to sort of indicate that the masks had some sort of magical properties to them. But you don't want to hand players the conclusion that they're controlling them, because it's just like a puzzle, right? Like if somebody has the idea to, like, well, can I target the mask? Can I remove that from and then all of a sudden something happens, like that would lose all of its impact, really, if you indicated it too hard. So I, you know, kind of played it easy with that, and then you know, and that's one of those things that I feel like you have to be willing to accept, I think, is that, you know, sometimes players aren't going to think of the cool thing, and that's okay. It's totally fine. No, I get that. I think that's fair. I think that's totally fair. It's not a bad thing either, right? And every group's different. You know, you can't treat every group the same. You've got to play to the players you have, sort of thing, so that they can play back at you. And you know, all we can really do is try to gauge over time, like, okay, what is the threshold for each group? What is the level that they want to players have already been through. They just killed 2 massive enemies. They lost potential allies. They are new, as am I, so they started very murder hobo. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty big part of the game, right? Murder hoboing is gonna happen. Thank you. I will say then the key. Here's the key thing, Snapman, with your if you're going that direction of the hag frames the blacksmith. Consider letting the quest end potentially with the party not figuring it out, putting the blacksmith away, blamed for everything. Allow them to sort of fail silently, because then you can bring that back later. Whether with clues, or maybe it starts to happen again, reports of it happening. Like there's a thing that's really difficult. This is one of those unique experiences to D&D, is that you can effectively fail forward in a way that is a lot harder to do in like video games or even other like board games and stuff like that. My party, I didn't let it live as long as I wish I would have, but they put the wrong guy away once. And I was too greedy about it. I had the culprit, do something like the very next couple of sessions to like out themselves, because the villain was trying to take an opportunity to kind of dispose of them, and it got all screwed up. But it was still an interesting story the way that it played out. Hey, Cool Hand Mountain Man. I can't wait to finish this tower so I can put your brick on it. Thanks for coming on board. I appreciate the support. Oh yeah, we're getting there. Well, I appreciate it. very lurker friendly around here, so glad to hear it. Thank you, thank you. It's a good question. Hey, Dwarf. Hey, Data. Thanks for the $2. Appreciate it. may hit, I think I'm going to hit these brighter tiles with like one more. Maybe I'll do it real quick. Because they're not quite muted enough for my taste. But I think I can get them there. Yeah, absolutely. So anytime I know that a player's not going to be missing, it's always if I have an idea or if I have the time, the inspiration, I'll try to make something that'll work just for everybody else. Absolutely. I mean, why not, right? It's an opportunity to play. Maybe throw something sort of experimental at the party and see what they do with it. Yeah, and then I think when that dries, I can do another little dry brush on them, and then they should be perfect. It used to be the case that with painting, where I would want to have like a really sort of regimented like set of steps to always follow, and I'd pretty much always paint stuff the same way. And then at some point I sort of began to get more comfortable with painting being more like a just like things you can do to keep pushing and pulling the color into like a place that you want it to be. Because there's really there's at no point, like there's no way that I could like screw this up, right? Like I could always take steps to change the colors into something else, or to, and it's like, okay, well, based on where that is, like, let me add a wash, and then like, well, based on where that ends up, let me now do a dry brush, and let's see how that looks. And so now it's a lot more of a, maybe not like a conversation, but it's more of a, it's just a bunch of experiments to get a look that I like. And in this case, it's just because I'm like, well, man, if somebody was making a design in the streets, they'd probably use special stones for some of that. What would those special stones look like? And now, here we are. Yeah, let those dry and then dry brush them later and see where it ends up. All right, cool. Well, that's it for me for now. Thanks for the support again, everybody. Cool Hand, Pale Data, Snabbaman, thanks for hanging out. Dwarf. I should be on later tonight playing some more Fallout, I think. And I still have a daily encounter to do, so we're going to do another nightly one. yeah, definitely keep me in the loop. I'll be curious how it works out for you with all of my wild ideas. All right, catch you guys later.